This episode is brought to you by the Arvada Center, because their first play of the year is a biting dark comedy exploring the complexities of gentrification in our communities. Clybourne Park plays February 14th to March 30th in the Arvada Center's Black Box Theater. It was written as both an unofficial sequel and response to Lorraine Hansberry's famous A Raisin in the Sun. I mean, this play won a Pulitzer, people. It's a razor-sharp satire about the politics of housing, race, and gentrification. Tickets are available now at arvadacenter.org. That's arvadacenter.org. Today on CityCast Denver. More than 10,000 grocery workers at 77 King Soopers across the metro area are going on strike starting today. So I'm speaking with the head of their union, Kim Cordova of the UFCW Local 7, about why they're back on the picket lines. And stay tuned, because I also spoke with King Soopers president Joe Kelley to hear the company's side of the story. Today is Thursday, February 6th. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Kim Cordova, welcome back to CityCast Denver.
Hi there. Thank you for having me on.
So, Kim, why are King Soopers workers going on strike this week?
You know, this is an unfair labor practice strike. Over 96% to 100% of the workers voted in favor to authorize an unfair labor practice strike. And this is about holding King Soopers accountable for their unlawful behavior through negotiations.
Can you talk a little bit more about what an unfair labor practice strike is for me, the customer? What does that mean? What does that mean for you guys?
Yeah, so we have a labor agreement, and so both sides have to follow the law in terms of following the National Labor Relations Act. We have to, labor as well as the employer, we have to come to the table, negotiate in good faith. We have to have proposals that are lawful, that are mandatory subjects of bargaining. Both sides have to bargain over those issues like wages, working conditions, term of agreement, safety issues, workloads, such as that, benefits. And so if either side violate the law, the strike is really a protest over King Soopers' unlawful behavior through bargaining. So they haven't followed the law in terms of, providing relevant, necessary information that we've requested. They have a proposal on the table right now where they're demanding to cease contributions into our retiree fund to fund wage increases. That is a permissive subject of bargaining that makes and they put that in their last, best, and final, that makes the offer unlawful. And that's one of the charges. So we have a whole bunch of unfair labor practices. Workers have been retaliated, surveillance. They're forced in captive audience meetings. They've been sent home for wearing union apparel or, exercising their voice around their contract. There's been a lot of retaliation against them. And so because of those series of actions by King Soopers, workers along the Front Range of Colorado, for all of the Denver metro area, which includes Denver, Arapahoe, Adams, Douglas, Jefferson County stores, Boulder, Parker, Broomfield, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo stores, workers in those unionized stores have authorized a strike.
So I want to share a statement from the King Soopers official press release from the company. They said, quote, "The National Labor Relations Board has not determined King Soopers has committed an unfair labor practice during these negotiations." What's your response to that?
The charges are filed and, there has to be a series of hearings, but they have not absolved them of any charges either. And so we have the right to take these matters into our hands and call for an unfair labor practice strike. And if they resolve, these issues, then we go back to work. But the company they're so arrogant that they don't care. They are above the law, and that's what they think.
So it's only been 3 years since you led the King Soopers workers on a strike back in 2022, and you won higher wages and a variety of other compromises with the company. I remember during that strike, we talked a lot about workplace conditions and safety. It sounds like those issues are are still here this time around. Is that right?
They are. So these workers have went through working through a global pandemic. So we had 2 years of that. We had the labor dispute in 2022. And shortly after that, Kroger and Albertsons announced they were going to merge. And Kroger was going to buy Albertsons for $24 billion. And who do you think was going to pay for that? The consumer with higher grocery prices and the workers with less hours and short staffing because the company can control labor costs and labor hours. And so the working conditions haven't improved since the last strike. There was no reprieve. We struck and like I said, we went straight from the pandemic. The company's still making more money. There was a lot of restaurants and other places to buy food that closed down because of the pandemic. So these businesses were still operating as if we were still under, um, state lockdown or whatnot. It's the most unsafe place to work. We just had a murder in the parking lot of one of our stores a couple of weeks ago. I just got a text message about a shooting, which I'm looking to see what's going on over there. There's robberies, there's crime, there's drug use in the bathrooms or within the store, outside of the store. We have the problem with our unhoused, community folks that also add to some of the issues that are going on in the store. Widespread theft. Because of the understaffing in the store, these workers are easy targets. Less people means it's easier to go in there and commit crimes and the company hasn't addressed any of it.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about staffing because King Soopers president Joe Kelley told the Denver Post that the company has actually increased staffing by almost 3,500 people than they had during COVID. What do you say to that?
That's not true. So first of all, Joe Kelley is out of touch, and he unfortunately, but not surprisingly, has not shown up to negotiations. So he doesn't even bother to hear what the workers say. So the workers who are boots on the ground in the stores have said since the pandemic that they've been doing the job of 3 to 4 people. So while they're investing in automation and they have more self checkout and longer lines, the consumer can verify what we're saying with empty shelves. And there's not a product shortage like we saw during the pandemic. There's product in the back room. There's just nobody to put the product out. If you look at
Oh.
departments closing early, it's because they're not hiring and staffing properly, and workers are being pulled from one department to help out another. I actually am a trustee on our benefit funds, and so we see hours and numbers every single month, and the numbers have declined. And in fact, we've done an analysis from the company's own records that show since 2019. Just here in Colorado, the staffing has decreased by 18%, which is significant. And across the country, in at least from the western part of the United States, like Southern California and up in the Northwest, we've seen about a 13% or more reduction. But here, we've seen the most with 18% in Colorado. And a lot has to do, we believe, with their need to get as much money together to merge with Albertsons. They were going to buy their largest competitor, and $24 billion. They needed to come up with that money. And we're going to continue to see that because now that the merger, Albertsons blocked the merger or stopped the merger, killed it, as well as 2 state courts, right? Portland, the FTC, and then Washington State. Now, Albertsons is suing Kroger and all those legal fees and costs. And there's a $600 million breakup fee that Albertsons is seeking, as well as billions of dollars in damages. And the workers and the consumer are going to continue to pay for Kroger's failed attempt to merge or buy out their largest competitor.
Let's talk about the current negotiations. So, King Soopers president Joe Kelley has said that you have refused to respond to his latest offer, which included pension benefits, raises, safety measures, and money for healthcare. Why did you not respond to that offer?
We did. We responded with a 96 to 100% strike vote. So we did respond. And so the offer itself is unlawful. There's several proposals that are in that last best and final that are what's called permissive subjects. It's part of the unfair labor practice charge. They cannot insist in a final offer on any subject that has to do with our retiree health care plan. It's a standalone benefit. They want to take $8 million out of that plan to fund their wage increases. And so while we can't strike over a retiree issue like that, we could ask, we can't strike over in turn. They cannot insist on it in a final offer. So their offer is they just put that offer down just because they don't want to engage in the discussion on staffing. They don't want to engage in the discussion on safety. They said they want a contract that works best for the business, not so much for the associates, and that's not acceptable.
Joe Kelley said you didn't even bring his, quote, last best offer to the union members for a vote at all. Why not?
Because it's an illegal offer. So they're not bargaining in good faith. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
So we're a member-driven union. We have open negotiations, and we have all members that sit on the bargaining committee, and they make all the decisions. And the bargaining committee made a recommendation that we take a vote to authorize the strike. And the membership voted overwhelmingly. I mean, that's an indictment on Kroger. This is the second strike in 2 bargaining cycles with the same division president here, with numbers in that range, 96 to 100%.
So what do you want customers to know about this strike? Like, what do you say to the loyal King Soopers customers like me who choose to shop at King Soopers instead of the competitors?
Well, I mean, I think you probably see that. I mean, if you go back to what we were talking about in the merger, and this was well documented through, I don't know if you followed any of the court cases, but, Kroger executives were forced to testify and explain their internal documents and communications about how they were raising prices, especially on staple items that were well above the market. And that's what's happening now. So, I mean, this local union was one of that we were at the forefront of stopping the merger. We were part of we were meeting with the FTC and regulators across the country, including here in Colorado with Attorney General Weiser. But this fight is really about customer service. I mean, our members are tired of apologizing that I'm sorry that we don't have chickens in the counter. I'm sorry the meat cases are empty. I'm sorry we ran out of milk. We're sorry that your prices were wrong and you were overcharged. I'm sorry that you were waiting through the long line. That's the fact that the union and the membership is fighting for a better place to shop. The company should be so ashamed of themselves. And about safety. I mean, if it's unsafe for the workers, it's unsafe for the customers. And I mean, every day there was a murder in our parking lot at one of our King Superstores a couple of weeks ago. I mean, there's not a day that we don't have some sort of event where a worker's attacked, a customer's attacked, there's drug use in the bathrooms. We are fighting to improve the customer's shopping experience.
Kim Cordova, thank you so much for joining me.
All right. Well, thank you.
So you've heard from the union side of this strike. Coming up after a short break, it's time to hear from the company. King Soopers President Joe Kelley responds.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Joe Kelley, welcome to CityCast Denver.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
So last month, you made what you called your last best offer to the union, and Kim Cordova told us that her response was to call for a strike this week. What is your response to that?
Reckless, quite frankly. Kim Cordova once again, same thing she did, same playbook as 3 years ago, has decided to take a strike authorization vote from her members, our associates, on what she's calling an unfair labor practice. Has nothing to do with the offer. There is no unfair labor practice. As a matter of fact, the National Labor Relations Board hasn't even ruled on anything. So she's so premature, clearly has her own agenda of doing this, which all it's going to do is disrupt our employees, our customers, and our communities, and it really is reckless.
I spoke with her earlier about why she's doing this, and she alleged that, like you said, the company has been engaging in unfair labor practices. She said including surveillance, captive audience meetings, and being sent home for wearing union apparel. Mm-hmm. What is your response to these particular allegations?
They're not true, and if they are true, then that's what the National Labor Relations Board, that's their job. It's not her job. That's what they're supposed to rule on, and they haven't. And we feel very confident that they're unfounded. And that we will not be found guilty of any unfair labor practice. At the end of the day, she's had a last, best, and final offer for our associates, and she hasn't allowed them to vote on it. She works for them. They don't work for her. She works for them, and her job is to let them vote, and she just hasn't done it. And it's very disappointing. And again, all it's going to do is hurt our associates. She's keeping us from giving them their raises. She's going to keep them from getting a paycheck just by standing out on a curbside because she thinks she has an unfair labor practice. It's not the way to negotiate, and it's not the way we do business.
What would you like to see? I guess maybe what would be the ideal situation or scenario for you and for the company, I guess?
Yeah, take this last, best, and final offer that we think is very generous. It's over $4.50. It's $4.50 an hour over the 4 years of the contract for our most senior folks. We haven't heard any complaints about the wages from our associates. She didn't share the offer, so we did. We let them read it. It's best-in-class healthcare. It's best-in-class pension. It's $4.50 an hour for our most tenured people, department heads, pharmacy techs, et cetera. I think the other piece that needs to be heard is if you go back to the contract that we finally ratified in 2022 when she took them out on strike, when we gave her the last, best, and final offer, that offer didn't go up. That offer went down. The offer went down by $18 million because when you take somebody out on strike, it affects the business. And that's unfortunate for our associates. So they came back for less money, not more money. And if you think about that contract and the contract that we're going to hope to ratify through 2028, that's $350 million in incremental wages that we will be spending on our associates. That is well deserved. As a matter of fact, their health care, and I say best in class, our associate and their family pay $26 a week for their health care today. We're asking for a mere $3 increase, which would bring it to $29 a week. The average Coloradan pays over $133 a week for their health care. We think we have a great offer on the table. So whatever her agenda is wrong. She keeps saying that the offer is unlawful with no justification, no comments about what she's accusing us of, because it's not unlawful. So the best interests of our associates and our customers and communities, let them vote the offer. If they don't like it, that's their decision. And if they like it, they'll ratify it.
So the struggle here, it sounds like from your perspective, is that she's not even bringing the offer to the workers.
Not only is she not bringing the offer to the workers, we've met with her 13 times. We gave her a comprehensive offer back on December 4th after meeting with her since October. We then gave her the last, best, and final offer at the beginning of January. Not only did she not present it, she has not brought us one wage proposal at all. She keeps talking about a staffing situation, that she's going to bring us a staffing proposal. Never done it. She keeps saying that we're understaffed. We have our lowest turnover rate that we've had in 4 years, meaning people aren't leaving us. We continue to hire every day. We have almost 4,000 more people than we had pre-COVID, and we're staffed better than we've ever been. So this rhetoric is just that. And quite frankly, it's dangerous for our associates and for our customers.
You know, Joe, I have to push back on the staffing issue only because I would say just from a customer perspective, I've been a lifelong King Soopers customer. I'm born and raised in Denver. This is the only place that my family shops. And I've just noticed when I go into my regular King Soopers in Belmar, there's maybe 2 regular checkouts open. Both self-checkout sections are open, and it's madness of people waiting for those 2 self-checkouts. There's just not enough people. When I go to buy something that's behind lock and key, I can't find a person to help me. So from a customer perspective, it feels like the stores are not better staffed.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you saying that. And certainly store by store, we could have some issues. Part of our issue is not staffing. Part of our issues is sick calls. Based on the laws in the state of Colorado, associates can take an additional 48 hours of leave with no notice. So we're working on that every day in regards to making sure that we are able to block those holes, fill those holes. We're always working on it every day to make sure that we have a buffer to anticipate some sick calls. Our hours are scheduled according to sales. They're based on historical. So if we know we did X amount of sales last week and we think we're going to do Y amount of sales this week, we schedule hours accordingly. So part of the issue is we do have enough people, we do have enough hours. Sick calls become a problem in some particular pockets, and we work on that every single day. Scheduling is a tricky thing. What I will tell you is we definitely have enough people. There certainly could be specific times, specific days, specific stores. We need to do a better job servicing our customers, and this sounds like one example for sure.
So Kim alleges that there's been an 18% reduction in staffing in Colorado, in particular since 2019. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I don't even know what she's talking about or where she's getting that number. We have proof, and as a matter of fact, we can show her how many people we hired if she would sit down at the table and negotiate in good faith. Matter of fact, we just hired another 550 people. We just opened 2 brand new stores in the last 2 weeks. One down in Colorado Springs and one up in Fort Collins. We're hiring every day. We are not reducing labor and people by 18%. So again, she throws these innuendos out there with no proof whatsoever. Part of the reason I gave the last best and final offer to our people is because she wouldn't. And I wanted them to be able to read it with their own eyes. That's a legal document that we're asking them to vote on. She hasn't done that. So she can continue with these allegations and rhetoric, et cetera. I think that she would serve her members, our associates, much better and our communities if she would sit at the table and negotiate in good faith, because there's plenty of unfair labor practices against her that have been filed, starting with that one.
So another topic or issue that's come up, and I've noticed since the last strike too, is this issue, like I said, of products being locked up. And Kim talked a lot about safety concerns for workers. She referenced this murder in a King Soopers parking lot recently. Do you think that King Soopers has become an unsafe place to work?
100% not. Safety is a core value for us, number one, a core value for our entire company. We have done de-escalation training. We've done everything from active shooter. We've trained our folks in our stores what to do if there's a situation that may happen. She continues to throw out that there was a shooting in the parking lot of a King Soopers. First of all, it was at the gas station. Thank God no customers or associates were injured. And if you would watch the video, it's very clear. The criminal drove up next to a car and shot the person in the car. We're very fortunate nothing happened to our customers, our associates. We have great relations with our local PD. We have security in a number of our stores. As a matter of fact, we've added safety and security to our stores. And again, it's a core value. So one more time, Kim makes these accusations and comments with nothing to back it up.
Let's talk about the merger situation, because the King Soopers parent company and Albertsons merger was blocked last year. And Cordova alleged that it's workers and consumers that are going to pay all the legal fees and the $600 million breakup fee with higher prices and lower wages. What do you think about that?
100% wrong again. We're a very sound company. The merger wasn't approved. We're disappointed that it wasn't approved. And unfortunately, what we said was going to happen between Albertsons and Safeway, they're going to close stores and lay off people. They've already announced that. We are a sound company. Here in Colorado, we're the number one grocer here in Colorado. Kroger is a family of stores across the country. We've been doing this for a long time. We don't expect any consumers through pricing to pay for our legal bills. That's not even in the discussion. Again, it's a distraction that Kim throws out there. She talks about stock buyback. Companies do stock buybacks all the time. What it's for is to make the company stronger. It has nothing to do with the pricing in our stores. So again, Kim makes comments that she's not educated on and continues to throw out these innuendos and this rhetoric to confuse people on what the real situation is. Let her members vote on the last best and final offer. That's her job. She works for them. And that's what she should be doing instead of this. But once again, her agenda is to disrupt our associates and disrupt our communities, which is not necessary.
So are you not worried about higher prices? Because I feel like Kroger's argument for the merger was that it would ultimately lead to lower prices.
Lower prices for Albertsons and Safeway, they're about 10 to 12% higher than us. And we thought we could invest in their pricing because we've been investing in our prices for quite some time. Our margins, based on us investing in prices, just at King Soopers and City Market, our margins, what we make from a profitability perspective, is lower than 10 years ago. We look at investing in price every day, whether it's through promotions, whether it's through everyday pricing, whether it's our gas, whether it's our fuel rewards, whatever it may be. So our margins are lower than they've ever been. But when we talked about lower pricing, investing capital, it was to try to bring some of the Safeway and Albertson stores up to date from a capital perspective and lower their prices so that they could be where we are, because they are typically 10 to 12% higher. And that's what's an unfortunate comment as well. Kim's out there in the press telling people, we're going to give you some time before Thursday so you can transfer your prescriptions to Safeway, so you can go shop at Safeway. They're 10 to 12% higher. And what she doesn't mention to people, she worked at Safeway for over 20 years. So we want to talk about negotiating in good faith. She's given them an extension, unlimited extension on their contract. It expired at the same time ours did. And she's telling customers to go shop there when they're higher priced than we are. So I'm concerned with her rhetoric. I'm concerned with what she's doing versus the right thing, which would be to allow the associates to vote.
Before we go, Joe, I just have one last question. What do you want your customers to know about this strike? Like, what do you say to the loyal King Soopers customers like me who choose to shop with you instead of the competitors?
Well, first of all, I'm very grateful. Including you, shoppers have a choice on where they want to shop, and they vote with their feet on where they want to go, and that's their prerogative. It is certainly a privilege to service customers here in the state of Colorado, as well as our stores in Wyoming and Utah. What I want them to know is that this last best and final offer, which is on our website, newscasts have it. That's what it is. It's a fair offer. And we believe that our associates would approve it if they were allowed to vote on it. So a lot of times customers and communities look at corporations, and sometimes it's justified, as the big bad animals, so to speak. We have a great offer on the table. And if I wasn't so confident about it, I wouldn't be saying for the last 3 months, let the associates vote. Let their voice be heard. Versus Kim Cordova not doing her job and not giving the associates the right to vote. So when customers say they won't cross the picket line because they think we're treating them poorly, we're not treating them poorly. We love our associates. We need our associates. They're really the special sauce at King Soopers and City Market that has helped us grow over the last 77 years as a Coloradan company. And we're going to continue to do so no matter what happens. Our stores are going to be open. But I want our customers to know that we do have a fair offer on the table. I'm happy to share it anywhere. We've shared it in the public. The newscasts have it. Our associates have it. And if I wasn't so confident, I wouldn't be continuing to say, let them vote it. It's their prerogative to ratify it or go on strike. I just think we should give them the choice, not Kim Cordova and Local 7.
Joe Kelley, thank you so much for joining me.
It's my pleasure. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your time.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell a loyal King Super shopper about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. And if you love the show, come see us in person at Heyday, an indoor fair with urban flair, on Saturday, March 8th. Get your tickets now at heydaydenver.com. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See ya.